Welcome to this explainer. Look, let's just jump right in. For the longest time, the whole conversation around AI and software development has been hyper-focused on generation, right? AI writing functions, spitting out code snippets, maybe whipping up a quick prototype. But we are right in the middle of a massive paradigm shift. Today, we're breaking down a recent launch from Abacus AI, their new supercomputer. And what this really represents is the leap from AI just generating code to AI actually deploying that code autonomously. We're looking at a system built to take a raw idea and push it all the way to a live public URL, literally without a human developer having to bridge that gap. Because honestly, this right here is the fundamental question sitting at the absolute center of modern AI development. You can go to pretty much any major AI chatbot today, ask it to build you a web app, and it's going to output some brilliant code. But what happens next? Traditionally, you, the human, have to take that code, set up a local environment, provision a server, configure all the networking, spin up a database, and figure out how to make it live. There's this huge missing infrastructure layer. The AI does the typing, sure, but humans are still doing all the deploying. Abacus is basically trying to make that last mile, the actual deployment, part of the AI agent's job description.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The missing infrastructure layer. 2. AI versus traditional deployment. 3. Escaping the API trap. 4. Corporate security and privacy. And 5. Infrastructure limits and realities. Let's get into it. Section 1. The missing infrastructure layer. To really grasp this shift, we need to define exactly what this new cloud environment actually gives you. Okay, so for around $10 a month, Abacus is essentially providing a persistent workspace tailored for AI coding agents. Check out these specs. You get an Ubuntu Linux environment, 2 virtual CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, persistent disks, and S3 compatible storage. Meaning, this isn't just some temporary, fleeting chat window sandbox. It's a real file system. It's a real deployment environment. Agents like OpenAI's Codex, Claude, or Gemini can literally jump into this space, write the code, talk directly to a built-in SQL database, hit the terminal, and execute a one-click HTTPS deployment. The AI finally has a real, permanent workbench to operate from. Section 2. AI versus traditional deployment. Let's look at how letting an AI handle deployment compares to the traditional, human-led DevOps grind. Think about the actual steps to deploy an open-source model, like Qwen 2.5 for a second. A human developer has to log into the server, open up the correct virtual machine ports, write a Flask backend just to serve the model, configure an Nginx web server with all the exact right proxy headers, and then painstakingly download and verify a multi-gigabyte model. It's a lot. But in the demo we're analyzing, an AI agent takes care of all those complex server setup steps from a single, natural language prompt. And it even verifies the whole thing on a public URL at the end. That traditional barrier to entry, completely gone. And to really hammer home the sheer speed of this workflow, the launch materials showed off a demo building a 3D browser game called Stranger Runner. Now, this wasn't just a basic text script. We're talking custom shadows, cinematic tone mapping, dynamic fog, and swipe controls responsive for mobile. The AI handled everything: the rendering logic, movement, UI, scoring, local storage, the whole shebang. And the crazy part? The entire process from typing the initial prompt to having a live, playable game out on the public internet took exactly 8 minutes and 52 seconds. It's an incredibly specific demo, but it brilliantly proves how fast a single AI workflow can just bypass hours of manual configuration. But speed isn't the whole story here. Persistence is. And that brings us to this idea of being always on. In another demo, they had the AI build a Django-based enterprise CRM. Now, normally, a typical AI-generated app just runs locally on your laptop, right? It dies the second you close your dev server. But this CRM was deployed to a live public server environment. It had real database tables, actual user sessions, uploaded files, and permanent state. Someone in London could create a customer record, and someone in Tokyo could update it hours later. The crucial takeaway is that this infrastructure is designed as a permanent hosting home, not just a temporary scratch pad. Moving on to Section 3, escaping the API trap. So why are businesses suddenly so eager to ditch third-party APIs and move toward private cloud infrastructure? Well, if you're building tools for, say, healthcare, legal firms, internal corporate docs, or finance, this is absolutely the most important question you can ask. Where does your data go? Historically, adding AI to your app meant taking every single user request, every sensitive document, and sending it completely out of your ecosystem into the servers of a third-party API provider. And for highly regulated industries, that data flow is a massive and sometimes totally insurmountable compliance risk. It's a stark contrast when you look at them side by side. With third-party APIs, you're constantly fighting external data flows, strict rate limits, and wildly variable per-token costs. But with private cloud infrastructure, which a lot of folks are calling private AI, the model is downloaded and runs locally inside your own cloud environment. You own the stack. You aren't relying on some external vendor to process your sensitive data because the intelligence is happening entirely within your own walled garden. You get absolute, total control over your data's lifecycle.
Which brings us to Section 4, Corporate Security and Privacy. Let's break down the actual compliance realities of this private cloud setup. Now, we have to be really clear about the distinction between what a platform gives you right out of the box versus the engineering legwork you still have to do yourself. Abacus makes several big compliance claims, but just spinning up their environment doesn't magically make your app HIPAA or SOC 2 compliant. Real compliance depends on your final product. It depends on your access controls, your logging policies, your contracts. Think of it like this. The platform provides you with a highly secure, heavily guarded room, but you are still the one responsible for locking the file cabinets inside of it. But looking at the secure room they do provide, they're boasting some serious enterprise-grade features. AES 256 encryption at rest, TLS 1.2 in transit, and claims of GDPR and CCPA compliance. They are very intentionally positioning this as a serious corporate tool. And crucially, they explicitly state that customer prompts and responses are not used to train large language models. You retain full ownership of your inputs and outputs. That alone moves this platform way past being just a fun sandbox for weekend coding projects.
Finally, Section 5, Infrastructure Limits and Realities. Because we do need to keep our feet on the ground and do a bit of a reality check on the hardware and the actual user experience. It's absolutely crucial to understand what this infrastructure is actually built to handle today. 2 virtual CPUs and 8 gigs of RAM? Awesome, super useful. They're perfect for fast prototypes, lightweight internal tools, basic APIs, maybe some dashboards, but they are not magic infinite infrastructure. Once you cross over into true enterprise reality, we're talking heavy GPU workloads, massive sprawling databases, immense production traffic, you're still going to need human DevOps engineers making complex decisions. Autonomous AI deployment is incredible, but it hasn't quite solved massive global scale just yet. And we have to look at the broader reception too. While the official launch material is beautifully polished, the outside user reviews are a bit more mixed. People love the value and the access to multiple models for sure, but there are also reports of bugs, some confusing credit limits, and questions around pricing clarity. So while it's a huge step in a very promising direction, the general consensus is that it's not quite a flawless, proven replacement for every single developer and DevOps workflow out there just yet. Ultimately, I think the core takeaway of everything we've looked at today is summed up perfectly by this quote. The next wave of AI coding may be about which system can take an idea and move it further down the actual software pipeline. The AI race is shifting, folks. It's no longer just about whose large language model can score the highest on some arbitrary coding benchmark. The real value is moving toward execution. It's about which system gives you the terminal, the database, and the hosting to take a raw idea and autonomously turn it into a finished, deployed product. So I want to leave you with this to chew on. We've seen the unbelievable speed of AI agents spinning up servers from scratch, and we've talked about that vital, massive shift toward private, fully controlled cloud environments and away from risky third-party APIs. But given the current hardware limits and those mixed early reviews, where do you stand? Is it still just a little too early to trust AI agents with the keys to your full software deployment pipeline? Or are we looking right now at the inevitable new standard for private enterprise infrastructure? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.